Angel's Voice ASMR. Hi, welcome to chapter 2 of Shantaram. Oh, and if you haven't met my dog before, his name is Tokati, and that's for Tokati Falls up past Crater Lake. And if you don't know, Crater Lake is located in Oregon, and Crater Lake is also one of the wonders of the world because it is the deepest lake not connected to any rivers because it's actually on the top of a volcano. So the color of the water is like purple and all the fish are imported into the lake. Chapter 2, Shantaram. I do believe the neighbors just started their weed eater, and I'm not sure how long that's going to be, but we're going to try to record and see what happens. She walked into Leopolds at the usual time, and when she stopped at the table near to talk with friends, I tried once more to find the words for the froilient blaze of her green eyes. I thought of leaves and opals and the warm shallows of island seas, but the living emerald in Carla's eyes, made luminous by the sunflowers of gold light that surrounded the pupils, was softer, far softer. I did eventually find that color, the green in nature that was a perfect match for the green in her lovely eyes. But it wasn't until long months after that night in Leopold's, and strangely, inexplicably, I didn't tell her about it. I wish now with all my heart that I did. The past reflects eternally between two mirrors, the bright mirror of words and deeds, and the dark one full of things we didn't do or say. I wish now that from the beginning, even then, in the first weeks that I knew her, even on that night, the words had come to tell her that I liked her. And I did. I liked everything about her. I liked the music of her Swiss-American English and the way she pushed her hair back slowly with a thumb and forefinger when she was irritated by something. I liked the hard-edged cleverness of her conversation and the easy, gentle way she touched the people she liked when she walked past them or sat beside them. I liked the way she held my eyes until the precise moment when it stopped being comfortable and then smiled, softening the assail but never looked away. She looked the world in the eye and stared it down, and I liked that about her because I didn't love the world then. The world wanted to kill me or catch me. The world wanted to put me back in the same cage I'd escaped from. Where were the good guys? The guys in prison guard uniforms who got paid to do the right thing, had chained me to a wall and kicked me until they broke my bones. And maybe the world was right to want that. Maybe it was no worse than I deserved. But repression, they say, breeds resistance in some men, and I was resisting the world with every minute of my life. The world and I are not on speaking terms, Carla said to me once in those early months. The world keeps trying to win me back, she said, but it doesn't work. I guess I'm just not the forgiving type. And I saw that in her too, right from the start. I knew from the first minute how much like me she was. I knew the determination in her that was almost brutal, and the courage that was almost cruel, and the lonely, angry longing to be loved. I knew all that, but I didn't say a word. I didn't tell her how much I liked her. I was numb in those first years after my escape, shell-shocked by the disasters that warred my life. My heart moved through deep and silent water. No one and nothing could really hurt me. No one and nothing could make me very happy. I was tough, which is probably the saddest thing you can say about a man. You're becoming a regular here, she teased, ruffling my hair with one hand as she sat down by my table. I loved it when she did that. It meant that she'd read me accurately, that she was sure I wouldn't take offense. I was 30 then, ugly, taller than average, with wide shoulders, a deep chest, and thick arms. People didn't often ruffle my hair. Yeah, I guess I am. So you went around on tour with Prabhaka again. How was it today? He took me to the island Alphonta to see the caves. A beautiful place, she remarked quietly, looking at me but dreaming of something else. If you get the chance, you should visit the Ajanta and Ellora caves in the north of the state. I spent the night there once at Ajanta in one of the caves. My boss took me there. Your boss? Yes, my boss. Is he European, is. Sometimes you break your heart in the right way, if you know what I mean. I wasn't sure what she meant, but when she paused, expecting a reply, I nodded as if I understand. You learn something, or you feel something completely new when you break your heart that way. Something that only you can know or feel in that way, and I knew after that night I would never have that feeling anywhere but India. I knew. I can't explain it. I just knew somehow that I was home and warm and safe and well. I'm still here. Well, what kind of business is he in? What? Well, your boss, what does he do? Imports and exports. She lapsed into silence, turning her head to scan the other tables. Do you miss your home? My home? Yeah, I mean your other home. Don't you ever get homesick for Switzerland? In a way, yes, I do. I come from Basel. Have you ever been there? No, I've never been to Europe. Well, you must go, and when you go there, you must visit Basel. It's really a very European city, you know. It's divided by the river Rhine into Great Basel and Small Basel, and the two halves of the city have really different styles and attitudes, so it's like living in two cities at the same time. That used to suit me once, and it's right on the meeting place of three countries, so you can just walk across the border into Germany and France. You can have breakfast in France, you know, with coffee and baguettes, and lunch in Switzerland, and dinner in Germany without leaving the city by more than a few kilometers. I miss Basel more than I miss Switzerland. She stopped, catching her breath, and looked up at me through soft, unpainted lashes. Sorry, I'm giving you a geography lesson here. No, please go on. It's interesting. You know, she said slowly, I like you, Lynn. She stared that green fire into me. I felt myself reddening slightly, not from embarrassment, but from shame that she'd said so easily the very words, I like you, that I wouldn't let myself say to her. You do? I asked, trying to make the question sound more casual than it was. I watched her lips close in a thin smile. Yes, you're a good listener. That's dangerous because it's so hard to resist being listened to, really listened to. It's the second best thing in the world. What's the first best thing? Everybody knows that. The best thing in the world is power. Oh, is it? I asked, laughing. What about sex? No, apart from the biology, sex is all about power. That's why it's such a rush. I laughed again. But what about love? A lot of people say that love is the best thing in the world, not power. They're wrong, she said with terse finality. Love is the opposite of power. That's why we fear it so much. Carla, dear one, the things you say, Didier Levy said, joining us and taking a seat beside Carla. I must make the conclusion that you have wicked intentions for Arlene. You didn't hear a word we said, she chided. I don't have to hear you. I can see by the look on his face you've been talking your riddles to him and turning his head around. You forget, Carla, that I know you too well in the long run of history, but from one day to the next, it's money that keeps us going. And the lack of it that drives us under the great wheel. And what about you, Lynn? What did you say? He didn't say anything yet, and now that you're here, he won't get a chance. Now be fair, Carla. Tell us, Lynn. I would like to know. Well, if you press me, I'd have to say freedom. The freedom to do what? He asked, putting a little laugh in the last word. I don't know. Maybe just the freedom to say no. If you've got that much freedom, you really don't need any more. The beer and coffee arrived. The waiter slammed the drinks onto the table with a reckless discourtesy. The service in the shops, hotels, and restaurants of Bombay in those days moved from a politeness that was charming or fawning to a rudeness that was either abrupt or hostile. The churlishness of the Leopolds waiters was legendary. It's my favorite place in the whole world, Carla once said, to be treated like dirt. A toast, Didier declared, raising his glass to touch mine, to the freedom to drink. Salute. He drank half the long glass, let out a loud, wide-mouthed sigh of pleasure, and then drank the rest. He was pouring himself a second glass when two others, a man and a woman, joined our group. Sitting between Carla and me, the dark, brooding, undernourished young man was Medina, a dour and taciturn Spaniard who did black market business with French talent and an African tourist. His companion, a slim and pretty German prostitute named Ula, had for some time allowed him to call himself her lover. Ah, Medina, you are just in time to buy the next round, Didier shouted, reaching past Carla to slap him on the shoulder. I will have a whiskey and soda, if you please. The shorter man flinched under the blow and scowled unhappily, but he called the waiter to his side and ordered drinks. Ula was speaking with Carla in a mixture of German and English that by accident or intent obscured the most interesting parts of her conversation. Let's face it, Carla said gently, the crazy ones always know how to find you, Ula. What can I say? Crazy people love me. Don't listen to her, Ula, my love, Didier consoled her. Craziness is the basis of many a fine relationship. In fact, crazy is the basis of every fine relationship. Didier, Ula sighed, mouthing his name with a smile of exquisite sweetness. Have I told you to go get fucked yet? Between us, darling, such things are always implied and understood. The whiskey arrived in 4 small flasks, and the waiter prized the tops off 2 soda bottles with a brass bottle opener that hung from a chain at his belt. He let the tops bounce on the table and then fall to the floor, then swished a grimy rag over the wet surface of the table, forcing us to duck and weave as the moisture spilled in all directions. 2 men approached our table from different parts of the restaurant, one to speak to Didier and the other to Medina. Ula used this moment to lean close to me. Under the table, she pressed something into my hand, and it felt like a small roll of banknotes, and her eyes pleaded with me not to draw attention to it. As she talked to me, I slipped the notes into my pocket without looking at them. So have you decided how long you're going to stay? She asked. I don't really know. I'm just not in a hurry. Don't you have something waiting for you somewhere? Or someone you should go to? She asked, smiling with adroit but passionless coquetry. Seduction was a habit with her. She turned that same smile on her customers, her friends, the waiters, even on Didier, whom she openly disliked, on everyone, in fact, including her lover Medina. In the months and years that followed, I heard a lot of people criticize Ula, some of them cruelly, for her flirtations. I didn't agree with them. It seemed to me, as I got to know her well, that she flirted with the world because flirting was the only real kindness she ever knew or shared. It was her way of being nice, and of making sure that people, men, were nice to her. She believed that there wasn't enough niceness in the world, and she said so in exactly those words more than once. It wasn't a deep feeling. It wasn't deep thinking, but it was right as far as it went, and there was no real harm in it. receipts, and scraps of paper. I never stopped writing. It was what I did, no matter where I was or how my circumstances changed. One of the reasons I remember those early Bombay months so well is that whenever I was alone, I wrote about those new friends and the conversations we shared, and writing was one of the things that saved me. The discipline and abstraction of putting my life into words every day helped me to cope with shame and its first cousin, despair. Well, I don't see what's to write about in Bombay. It's no good place. My friend Lisa says this is the place they were thinking about when they invented the word pits, and I think it is a good place for calling it pits. Better you should go somewhere else to write about, like Rajasthan maybe. I did hear that that's not a pits there in Rajasthan. She's right, Lynn, Carla added. This is not India. There are people here from every part of India, but Bombay isn't India. Bombay is its own world, a world in itself. The real India is out there. Out there. Out there, where the light stops. I'm sure you're right, I answered, smiling in appreciation of the phrase. But I like it here so far. I like big cities, and this is the third biggest city in the world. You're beginning to sound like your tour guide, Carla joked. I think maybe Prabhakar has been teaching you too well. I guess he has. He's been filling my head with facts and figures every day for 2 weeks. Quite amazing, really, for a guy who left school when he was 7 and taught himself to read and write here on the streets. What facts and figures? Ula asked. Well, for instance, the official population of Bombay is 11 million. But Prabhu says the guy who runs the illegal numbers racket have a better idea of the real population, and they put it at anything from 13 to 15 million. And there are 200 dialects and languages spoken in the city every day. 200, for God's sake, it's like being in the center of the world. As if in response to that talk of languages, Ula spoke to Carla quickly and intently in German. At a sign from Medina, she stood and gathered her purse and cigarettes. The quiet Spaniard left the table without a word and walked toward the open archway that led to the street. I have a job, Ula announced, pouting winsomely. See you tomorrow, Carla, about 11 o'clock. Maybe we'll have dinner together tomorrow night, Lynn, if you're here. I would like that. Bye. She walked out after Medina, followed by leers and admiring stares from many of the men at the bar. Didier chose that moment to visit several acquaintances at another table, and Carla and I were alone. She won't, you know. Won't what? She won't have dinner with you tomorrow night. It's just her way. I know, I grinned. You like her, don't you? Yeah, I do. What? Does that strike you as funny? In a way, yes, she likes you too. She paused, and I thought she was about to explain a remark, but then she spoke again. It was to change the subject. She gave you some money, American dollars. She told me about it in German, so Medina wouldn't understand. You're supposed to give it to me, and she'll collect it from my place at 11 tomorrow. Okay, do you want it now? No, don't give it to me here. I have to go now. I have an appointment. I'll be back in about an hour. Can you wait till then? Or come back, and I'll meet you then. You can walk me home if you like. Sure, I'll be here. She stood to leave, and I stood also, drawing back her chair. She gave me a little smile with one eyebrow raised in irony or mockery or both. I wasn't joking before. You really should leave Bombay. I watched her walk out to the street and step into the back of a private taxi that had obviously been waiting for her. As the cream-colored car eased into the slow stream of night traffic, a man's hand emerged from the passenger window, thick fingers clutching a string of green prayer beads and warning away pedestrians with a wave. Alone again, I sat down, set my chair against the wall, and let the activity of Leopolds and its clamorous patrons close over me. Leopolds was the largest bar and restaurant in Colaba, and one of the largest in the city. The rectangular ground floor room occupied a frontage equal to any 4 other restaurants, and was served by 2 metal doors that rolled up into the wooden arches to give an expansive view of the causeway. Calaba's busiest and most colorful street. There was a smaller, more discreet air-conditioned bar on the first floor, supported by sturdy columns that divided the ground floor into roughly equal sections, and around which many of the tables were grouped. Mirrors on those pillars and on much of the free wall space provided the patrons with one of the bar's major attractions, a chance to inspect, admire, and ogle others in a circumspect, if not entirely anonymous fashion. For many, the duplication of their own images in 2 or more mirrors at the same time was not the least among the pleasures of the pastime. Leopold's was a place for people to see, to be seen, and to see themselves in the act of being seen. fruits and juices. Pawpaw, papaya, custard apples, Mozambique grapes, watermelon, banana, santra, and in this season 4 varieties of mango were displayed across the whole surface of one wall in a gorgeous abundance. A vast, solid teak manager's counter presided like the bridge of a sailing ship over the busy deck of the restaurant. Besides that, along a narrow corridor, one corner of the front kitchen was occasionally visible beyond the scurry of waiters and the sweating clouds of steam. A faded but still sumptuous elegance struck and held the eyes of all who walked through those wide arches into Leopold's little world of light, color, and richly paneled wood. Its chief splendor was truly admired by none of its humblest workers, however, for it was only when the bar closed that the cleaners removed all the furniture each morning, that the beauty of the floor was exposed. Its intricate tile work replicated the pattern used in a North Indian palace, with hexagons in black, cream, and brown radiating in a central sunburst, and thus a paving designed for princes, all but invisible to the tourists with their eyes on their own reflections in the dazzling mirrors, revealed its luxurious perfections only in secret to the naked feet of the cleaners, the city's poorest and meekest working men. For one cool, precious hour each morning after it opened and the floors had been cleaned, Leopold's was an oasis of quiet in the struggling city. From then until it closed at midnight, it was constantly crowded with visitors from 100 countries and many locals, both foreign and Indian, who came there from every part of the city to conduct their business. The business ranged from traffic in drugs, currencies, passports, gold, and sex, to the intangible but no less lucrative trade and influence, the unofficial system of bribes and favors by which many appointments, promotions, and contracts were facilitated in India. Leopold's was an unofficial free zone, scrupulously ignored by the otherwise efficient officers of the Colaba police station, directly across the busy street. Yet a particular dialectic applied to the relationships between upstairs and down, inside and out the restaurant, and governed all of the business transactions there. Indian prostitutes garlanded with ropes of jasmine flowers and plumply wrapped in bejeweled saris were prohibited downstairs and only accompanied customers to the upstairs bar. European prostitutes were only permitted to sit downstairs, attracting the interest of men who sat at other tables or simply paused on the street outside. Deals for drugs and other contraband were openly transacted at the tables, but the goods could only be exchanged outside the bar. It was common enough to see a buyer and seller reach agreement on price, walk outside to hand over money and goods, and then walk back inside to resume their places at a table. Even the bureaucrats and influence peddlers were bound by those unwritten rules. Agreements reached in the dark booths of the upstairs bar could only be sealed with handshakes and cash on the pavement outside, so that no man could say he'd paid or received bribes within the walls of Leopold's. While the fine lines that divided and connected the legal and illegal were nowhere more elegantly drawn, they were unique to the diverse society of Leopold's. The traders in the street stalls outside sold counterfeits of Lacoste, Cardin, and Cartier with a certain impudent panache. The taxi drivers parked along the street accepted tips to tilt their mirrors away from the unlawful or forbidden acts that took place on the seats behind them, and a number of cops who attended to the duties with diligence at the station across the road had paid hefty bribes for the privilege of that lucrative posting in the city center. Sitting at Leopold's night after night and listening to the conversations at the tables around me, I heard many foreigners and not a few Indians complain about the corruption that adhered to many aspects of public and commercial life in Bombay. My few weeks in the city had already shown me that these complaints were often fair and often true. But there's no nation uncorrupted. There's no system that's immune to the misuse of money. Privileged and powerful elites grease the wheels of their progress with kickbacks and campaign contributions in the noblest assemblies, and the rich all over the world live longer and healthier lives than the poor. There is a difference between the dishonest bribe and the honest bribe. Didier Levy once said to me, "The dishonest bribe is the same in every country, but the honest bribe is India's alone." I smiled when he said that because I knew what he meant. India was open, India was honest, and I liked that from the first day. My instinct wasn't to criticize. My instinct in the city I was learning to love was to observe and become involved and enjoy. I couldn't know that then. In the months and years to come, my freedom and even my life would depend on the Indian willingness to tilt the mirror. "What? Alone?" he gasped. Didier returned to the table. "Don't you know, my dear friend? It is faintly disgusting to be alone here. And I must tell you that being disgusting is a privilege I reserve exclusively for myself. Come, we will drink." He flopped into a chair beside me, calling his waiter to order more drinks. I'd creasing his face as he stared at their backs. Afghans. Rafik, the small one, he used to run the block market in the books. Passports, he was the boss, a very big fellow previously. Now he runs brown sugar through Pakistan. He makes a lot more money from the brown sugar, but he's very bitter about losing of the book business. Men were killed in the struggle, and most of them were his men. It wasn't possible that they could have heard the remark, but just then the two Afghans turned in their seats and stared at us with dark, serious expressions as if responding to his words. One of their companions at the table leaned close and spoke to them. He pointed at Didier, then me, and they shifted their gaze to look directly in my eyes. Killed, Didier repeated softly, smiling even more broadly until the two men turned their backs to us once more. I would refuse to do business with them, if only they did not do such good business. He was speaking out of the corner of his mouth like a prisoner under the eyes of the wardens. It struck me as funny. In Australian prisons, that whispering technique is known as side-valving. The expression spoke itself clearly in my mind, and together with Didier's mannerisms, the words put me back in a prison cell. I could smell the cheap disinfectant, hear the metal hiss of the keys, and feel the sweating stone under my fingertips. Flashbacks are common to ex-prisoners, cops, soldiers, ambulance drivers, firefighters, and others who see and experience trauma. Sometimes the flashbacks are so sudden and so inappropriate to the surrounding circumstance that the only sane reaction is foolish, uncontrollable laughter. You think I'm joking? Didier puffed indignantly. No, not at all. That was the truth, I assure you. There was a small war over the business. See here, even now as we speak, the victors arrive. That is Bahram and his men. He is Iranian. He is an enforcer and one of those who works for Abdul Ghani, who in his turn works for one of the great crime lords of the city, Abdul Qadir Khan. They won this little war, and now it is they who control the business and passport books. He gestured with a slight nod of his head to point out a group of young men dressed in stylish western jeans and jackets who just entered through one of the arches. They walked to the manager's desk and greeted the owners of Leopolds warmly before taking a table on the far side of the room. The leader of the group was a tall, heavy-set man in his early 30s. He lifted his plump, jovial face above the heads of his friends and swept the room from left to right, acknowledging differential nods and friendly smiles from a number of acquaintances at other tables. As his eyes found us, Didier waved a greeting. Blood, he said softly through his bright smile. For a time yet, these passports will be stamped in blood. For me, it is nothing. In matters of food, I am French. In matters of love, I am Italian. And in matters of business, I am Swiss, very Swiss, strictly neutral. But there will be more blood on these books, for that I am sure. He turned to me and blinked once, twice, as if severing the thread of daydream with his thick lashes. I must be drunk, he said with pleasurable surprise. Let's have another drink. You go ahead, I'll sit on this one. How much do these passports cost? Anything from $100 to $1,000, of course. You want to buy one? No. Ah, this is a Bombay gold dealer's no. It is a no. That means maybe. And the more passionate the no, the more definite the maybe. When you want one, come to me. I will arrange it for you, for a small commission, of course. You make a lot of commissions here. It goes. I cannot complain, he grinned, his blue eyes gleaming through thick lenses of pink alcoholic wetness. I make ends meet, as they say, and when they meet, I get a payment from both of the ends. Just now, tonight, I made the arrangements for a sale, 2 kilos of Manali hashish. You see those Italian tourists over there by the fruits? The fellow with the long blonde hair and the girl in red, they wanted to buy someone. You see, out there on the street, the one with the dirty shirt and no shoes, waiting for his commission. He put them to me, and then I, in my turn, put them to Ajay. He makes a hashish business, and he is an excellent criminal. See, now he sits with them, and all are smiling. The deal is done. My work for the night is finished. I am a free man. He thumped the table for another drink, and when the small bottle arrived, he grasped it for a while with both hands, staring at it with brooding, pensive expression. How long will you stay in Bombay? He asked, without looking at me. I don't know, it's funny, everybody seems to be asking me that in the last few days. Well, you've already stayed longer than usual. Most people cannot depart the city too quickly. There's a guide, Prabhaka's his name, do you know him? Prabhaka Kar, the big smile, that's him. He's been showing me around for weeks now. I've seen all the temples, museums, and art galleries, and a lot of the bazaars. From tomorrow morning, he promised to show me something of the other side of the city. The real city, he called it. He made it sound interesting. I'll stick around for that and make my mind up. Then, where I want to go next, I'm in no hurry. It's a very sad thing to be in no hurry, and I would not be so free in admitting it if I were you, he said, still staring at the bottle. When he wasn't smiling, his face looked flabby, slack, and pallid gray. He was unwell, but saying in Marcel's, a man in no hurry gets nowhere fast. I have been in no hurry for 8 years. Suddenly his mood changed. He poured a splash from the bottle, looked at me with a smile, and raised his glass. So let's drink to Bombay, a fine place to be in no hurry, and to civilized policemen who will accept a bribe in the interests of the order, if not the law. I'll drink to that, I said, clattering my glass against his in the toast. So tell me, Didier, what keeps you here in Bombay? Let's see how many more pages we have. Oh, we have quite a few more pages. So